Hello everyone, Dr. Mike here from TCOM 101. In this short video, I want to focus on just a handful of the critical issues facing society in cyberspace, in the information age, in the world of the internet. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is an issue, a problem, an inequity in society called the digital divide. This term, the digital divide, refers to a situation in which people don't have the same degree of access to modern digital technologies. So it's the haves, the digital haves, and the digital have-nots. And of course, who's in a better position to thrive and survive in modern society? Of course, it's the people who have access to high tech. Now, here in the United States, we have a very high internet penetration rate, approaching 90%. But still, in many rural areas and among some of the poor segments of the population, there is a lack of good internet access. Okay, we've seen this happen during the coronavirus outbreak, which forced a lot of online learning. Well, many young children, especially in poor communities, don't have access to information technologies, to Wi-Fi, and to personal computers. And so we've seen this problem escalate in America during the coronavirus pandemic, the digital divide. What about the digital divide at the global level, worldwide? Well, there we have to look at some internet usage statistics. Now, this first chart shows us just the raw number of internet users around the world, and it's broken down by geographic regions. Well, the largest number of internet users, of course, is in Asia and South Asia. Okay, because that's where most of the world's population lives. So this chart is interesting, shows us how many computer users there are around the world, but it really doesn't tell us much about the digital divide. To understand the digital divide, we have to look at another chart that's based on penetration rates. Penetration is the percentage of a population that uses a particular technology. So this really helps us understand the digital divide. So the areas with the highest penetration rates are North America and Europe. And if you look towards the center of the chart, the yellow bar, you can see that the worldwide average is about 58%. Now, at the bottom of the chart, we see where the digital divide really is, where the inequity really lies, and that's among the people of Asia and the people of Africa. Okay, both of those continents have much lower internet penetration rates. I guess in a perfect world with no digital divide, every one of the bars on these graphics would be up there around 90%, and they would all approximate each other. But this shows us where the digital divide is. Now, there are a lot of people trying to address this in many different ways. One group I've noticed over the years is called One Laptop Per Child. And this group builds very low-cost personal computers, laptop computers, to distribute to the poor children around the world. Some very important efforts are being made to close the digital divide. A critical question is, who's responsible for this? No one? The government? The philanthropists? The do-gooders? Okay, or do people need to be self-reliant? And there are many, many critical questions around how we close the digital divide. All right, the next important issue I want to talk about briefly is something called net neutrality. Think about the information on the net. The idea of net neutrality is that all the bits are created equal. All the information should flow through the internet at the same basic rate. No stream of information, if you believe in net neutrality, no stream of information should be given higher priority than any other stream of information. This is the concept of net neutrality. Net neutrality means that the internet service providers may not discriminate between different kinds of content and applications online. They have to give everybody a level playing field. So there's fairness, okay? Something called net neutrality. There are no fast lanes and slow lanes on the internet. Now, this became a big issue about a decade ago when there start to be some threats to the concept of net neutrality, and a lot of people took it to the street to express their opinions on this issue. There's great public support for the idea of net neutrality. Now, under President Obama, the FCC actually moved to regulate the internet in a way that would protect net neutrality. It declared that the internet is a public utility and therefore everybody should be treated equally. So there's no fast lanes or preferential treatment on the internet. However, in 2016, President Donald J. Trump was elected, and he has a different philosophy about net neutrality. He's against it. And so under his leadership, the Federal Communication Commission rolled back net neutrality, got rid of the concept of net neutrality. Now, this hasn't meant that the issue is over and finally dealt with. No, Congress could still pass laws. Challenges could still go through the courts relating to net neutrality, and the individual states can address this issue on their own. California has. A couple of years ago, California passed the nation's strictest net neutrality law. Okay, so it's going to look like it's going to be up to each state right now to make a decision on this important front. Indiana, by the way, has no net neutrality law. Okay, another huge concern in the digital age is cybersecurity, keeping us safe from the hackers. Hacking costs the American economy more than $100 billion a year. It takes a huge toll on the economy, and it poses a great inconvenience for a lot of consumers and companies. Cybersecurity, boy, that's a good field to go into right now. Become a cybersecurity expert, and you'll make a lot of money. Cybersecurity refers to all the technologies and processes and practices designed to protect the networks and the data from attack, damage, or just from unauthorized access. Cybersecurity. Now, the federal government, of course, is very interested in protecting us. Okay, so the responsibility for cybersecurity lies with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security. And this agency has an office, the Office of Cybersecurity and Communications. And that's part of the Department of Homeland Security. And it's charged with beefing up the security and the reliability of all the cyber communications here in the United States. Now, not only is the federal government trying to keep us safe from cyber attacks, our federal government is also using the internet to conduct mass surveillance on the citizens. In fact, this is because we know about this because of the disclosures by Ed Snowden. Okay, that the government was using the internet to spy on the citizens in the name of safety. We also learned back in 2012, because of an article in Wired magazine, that deep in the Utah desert, the National Security Agency has built one of the country's biggest spy centers. This is the part of the surveillance network, the server farms that hold the information gathered by the government. This is a huge and quite controversial facility out in Utah. But this is the kind of the cloud computing system owned by the federal government to monitor the citizens of the United States. Now, when the story broke about mass surveillance, one of the journalists involved was Glenn Greenwald, and he looked at the situation closely, and he came to the conclusion that our federal government's objective was to collect it all, process it all, sniff it all, and know it all in the name of national security. Now, the new kind of warrior today might not necessarily be a traditional warrior, but might be more likely to take the form of some kind of cyber warrior, somebody who works with computers as part of our national defense. You know, cyber warfare is something that keeps the generals and the security officials up at night worrying. This cyber warfare refers to all kinds of activities that use the internet to attack a country's computers in order to damage things like the communication system, the transportation system, the water supply, the electrical system, the banking system, the medical system, the educational system. Anything today is subject to some kind of cyber attack by a foreign entity. Now, cyber warfare has been going on for a decade. The US and China are already engaged in cyber warfare. We already engage in cyber warfare with Iran, with Russia, with North Korea, many of the authoritarian countries in the world. So the war is already underway. Now, another scary aspect to all this is the notion of online radicalization to violence. Online radicalization. Sometimes we think of this as kind of the lone wolf person that's sitting out there and listening to propaganda and hate speech and somehow being incentivized to perform an act of violence. Violent extremist groups know how to use the network. They know how to leverage the online tools and resources to send out messages of violence and division. So there are a lot of groups out there using the internet to disseminate propaganda and to identify and to groom potential recruits. They have some very sophisticated tools. At one time, Al-Qaeda published Inspire magazine, meant to inspire young radicals. And one issue had a very interesting article. It was about how to use a pressure cooker to make a bomb in the kitchen of your mother. And this type of terrorist attack has occurred. An explosive device made out of a pressure cooker. But it's not just Islamic extremists. We should worry about the internet can be used to radicalize anybody from any ideological position. And it's something of great concern. Now, like I said, the radicals can come from any place, and they can drape themselves in any religion. That's all I've got for this lecture. These are important issues that our world faces in the era of cyberspace and the internet. We'll talk about more of these issues next time. Until then, take care of yourself and each other, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.